The alien council chamber buzzed with nervous energy as representatives from 47 different worlds gathered for the most important meeting in galactic history. Commander Zektor of the Apex Federation stood at the center of the massive, circular room, his forearms gesturing dramatically as he spoke to the assembled delegates. "They have taken 12 Deathworlds in the past 50 years, Zektor said, his voice echoing through the chamber. 12 worlds that we thought were impossible to live on. And they do not just survive there, they thrive." The other aliens shifted, uncomfortably in their seats. Representative Yila of the Etherian Collective, her translucent blue skin glowing softly, spoke up. "Perhaps we should try to understand them better before we assume the worst." "Understand them?" Zektor's eyes flashed. "Red, what is there to understand? They come from a world so dangerous that it killed most life forms before they even evolved. And now they spread across the galaxy like a plague, taking every world that would kill the rest of us in minutes." On the other side of the galaxy, Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the human ship New Horizon, watching the stars through the massive viewing window. He was a tall man with graying hair and tired eyes, someone who had seen too much of the universe to be easily impressed. But today, even he felt nervous about the mission ahead. "Captain, we are receiving another transmission from the Galactic Council," said Lieutenant Amy Foster, turning from her communication station. "They want to know our exact arrival time." Jake nodded slowly. "Tell them we will be there in 6 hours. And Amy, make sure all our diplomatic protocols are ready. This meeting could determine the future of our entire species." Dr. Kevin Turner was not thinking about diplomacy as he studied the data on his computer screen in his laboratory on Earth. The numbers were bad. Worse than bad. They were catastrophic. The planet's temperature had risen 3 degrees in the past decade. The ocean's acid levels were higher than ever. The air in most major cities was barely breathable without filters. He rubbed his tired eyes and looked out the window of his research facility. The sky was a strange orange color, something that would have been impossible 100 years ago. In the distance, you could see the massive atmospheric processors working day and night to keep the air clean enough for people to breathe. Kevin picked up his phone and called Admiral Lisa Carter, the head of Earth's military forces. "Lisa, we need to talk. The latest environmental reports are in, and they are not good." "How not good?" Lisa asked. She was a short, tough woman who had spent her entire career preparing for humanity's expansion into space. She knew that Earth's problems were serious, but she had always believed they had time to fix them. "We have maybe 20 years before the planet becomes completely uninhabitable," Kevin said quietly. "Maybe less if the weather patterns continue. To change this fast?" Lisa was quiet for a long moment. "Kevin, do you realize what you are telling me? We have 3 billion people on this planet. The colonies can only support maybe 500,000. "I know," Kevin said. "That is why we need those death worlds. They're not trophies or conquests. They're lifeboats." Meanwhile, on the council's capital world, the debate was getting more heated. General Vex of the Titanium Brotherhood slammed his metallic fist on the table. "Every world they touch becomes a fortress. They do not ask permission. They do not negotiate. They simply arrive and make impossible places into homes. But they have never attacked any of our worlds," Yila pointed out. "They only go to places where no one else can survive." Yet Zektor said darkly, "They only go to death worlds yet. But what happens when they run out of death worlds? What happens when they decide they want our worlds too?" Dr. Rachel Kim, Earth's top scientist studying alien life, was asking herself the same question as she prepared her presentation for the diplomatic mission. She had spent years studying the other species in the galaxy, and she knew something that most humans did not know. Aliens were not just afraid of humanity's expansion. They were afraid of humanity itself. Every other species in the galaxy had evolved on worlds that were, by human standards, paradise. Perfect temperatures, clean air, stable weather, abundant food. They had never faced the kind of challenges that had shaped humanity for thousands of years. They could not understand how any species could not just survive, but actually get stronger when faced with impossible conditions. Rachel looked at the medical scans of average humans compared to the other species. Human bones were 3 times denser than most aliens. Human lungs could process air that would poison other species. Human skin could handle radiation levels that would kill most galactic life forms in hours. And human brains had developed problem-solving abilities that came from millions of years of trying to survive on a world that seemed determined to kill them. The truth was that humans were not trying to conquer the galaxy. They were trying to survive in it. But how could they explain that to species who had never faced real danger? Captain Morrison received the final transmission from Earth Command as his ship approached the Council's space station. The message was simple, but carried the weight of humanity's future. Do whatever it takes to buy us time. We need at least 5 more years to evacuate the critical population centers. Jake looked at the massive space station ahead of them. It was beautiful, built by species who had the luxury of making things beautiful instead of just functional. Everything humans built was designed first to keep people alive. Beauty was something they added later if they had time. Captain, Lieutenant Foster said, "We are being escorted by 12 Council warships. That is a lot more than usual diplomatic security." Jake nodded. He had expected this. The Council was scared, and scared people did not always make smart decisions. "Are our defensive systems ready?" "Yes, sir. But Captain, if they decide to attack us, we will not last long against 12 ships. We are not here to fight, Amy. We are here to talk. But if talking does not work, we need to be ready to send a message back to Earth." As the New Horizon docked with the Council station, Jake Morrison knew that everything that happened in the next few hours would determine whether humanity had a future among the stars, or whether they would be forced to die with their poisoned homeworld. The greatest irony was that the species who feared humans as galactic conquerors had no idea that humanity was actually a dying race, desperately searching for any place in the universe where their children might have a chance to live. Ambassador Peter Clark stood in the center of the Great Council chamber, surrounded by alien beings who had traveled from across the galaxy to hear what he had to say. The chamber was silent except for the soft humming of translation devices and the nervous breathing of dozens of different species. Peter was a calm man who had spent 30 years learning how to talk to aliens. He had negotiated trade deals with crystal beings who spoke in musical tones. He had settled disputes between gas creatures who lived in the clouds of giant planets. But today was different. Today he had to tell the truth that could save or doom his entire species. "Honored representatives," Peter began, his voice steady despite the fear in his heart, "you have called this meeting because you believe humanity is a threat to galactic peace. You think we are conquerors who take Deathworlds because we want to build an empire?" Zektor leaned forward in his seat. "Are you saying we are wrong?"
Peter
took a deep breath. "Yes, you are completely wrong." A wave of shocked whispers spread through the chamber. Several aliens began talking at once, their translation devices creating a chaos of overlapping voices. Peter raised his hand for silence. "We do not take Deathworlds because we want to conquer them," Peter continued. "We take them because they are the only places in the galaxy where we can still survive. Our homeworld is dying, and we are dying with it." Dr. Rachel Kim stepped forward, carrying a small device that projected images into the air above the chamber. The first image showed Earth from space. To most of the aliens, it looked beautiful. Blue oceans, white clouds, green and brown continents. "This is Earth," Rachel said. "It looks peaceful from space, does it not? But look closer." The image zoomed in on one of the continents. The green areas were not forests, but massive farms trying to grow food in poisoned soil. The blue rivers were thick with chemicals. The white clouds were full of acid that burned everything they touched. "Our air is toxic," Rachel explained. "Our water is poisoned. Our soil is dying. The temperature rises every year. The storms get stronger. The ice caps melt more each season." She showed them images of human cities. Massive domes covered entire urban areas, protecting people from the deadly air outside. Children played in underground parks because the surface was too dangerous. Farms grew food in sealed buildings because nothing could survive in the natural environment anymore. "This is why we go to Deathworlds," Peter said. "Because the toxic air of Kepler 442b is cleaner than the air our children breathe on Earth. Because the radiation on Europa 7 is less dangerous than the radiation that comes through our damaged atmosphere. Because the crushing gravity of Titan Prime is easier to bear than watching our homeworld slowly die. Representative Yila of the Etherian Collective was the first to speak. Her voice was soft and full of sadness. How long has your world been like this? 300 years, Rachel answered. It started slowly. We burned too many fossil fuels. We cut down too many forests. We polluted too many rivers. By the time we realized what was happening, it was too late to stop it. General Vex of the Titanium Brotherhood stood up, his metal body gleaming under the chamber lights. If this is true, why did you not ask for help? Why did you not tell us your world was dying? Peter looked directly at the general. Because we knew you would not help us. You would see us as weak. You would try to take advantage of our desperation. Or worse, you would try to prevent us from saving ourselves. The chamber erupted in angry voices. Several aliens shouted that humans were lying, that this was some kind of trick. But others looked at the images Rachel was showing and began to understand the terrible truth. Dr. Kevin Turner's voice came through the communication system from Earth. He was speaking to the council from his laboratory, surrounded by charts and graphs that showed Earth's environmental collapse. Every human colony ship that leaves Earth carries refugees, Kevin said. Not conquerors, but desperate people looking for a place where their children might live. We do not choose Deathworlds because we are strong. We choose them because we have no choice. He showed them medical scans of humans who lived on Earth compared to humans who lived on the colony worlds. The Earth humans were sick, their bodies damaged by pollution and radiation. The colony humans were healthier because even the most dangerous Deathworld was cleaner than their dying homeworld. We have maybe 15 years before Earth becomes completely uninhabitable, Kevin continued. We need those Deathworlds. Without them, 3 billion people will die. Zektor had been quiet during this presentation, but now he stood up again. His forearms were crossed, and his red eyes glowed with anger. Even if this is true, it does not change the fact that you are expanding into our galaxy without permission. It does not change the fact that you have technology and abilities that make you dangerous. Dangerous to whom? Peter asked. We have never attacked another species. We have never taken a world that was already inhabited. We only go to places where no one else can live. But those places have value, Zektor replied. Those worlds contain resources that could be useful to other species. And your technology for surviving in impossible conditions could be used for military purposes. That was when Peter realized the terrible truth. Aliens were not just afraid of human expansion. They were planning to steal the Deathworlds for themselves. You want our colonies? Peter said slowly. You want to take the worlds we have made livable and claim them for yourselves? The resources on those worlds belong to the galaxy, not to one species, Zektor said, especially not to a species that may be lying about their true intentions. Commander Yex of the Hive Clusters spoke up for the first time. Her insect-like voice buzzed through the translation device. Truly refugees, they should be willing to accept relocation to designated areas under Council supervision. Peter felt his heart sink. They were not going to help humanity. They were going to imprison them. And if we refuse, Peter asked, though he already knew the answer. Zektor's smile was cold and sharp. Then the Council will be forced to take action to protect galactic security. We have already prepared a joint military force. 47 worlds are ready to act if humans do not comply with our demands. The chamber fell silent. Peter looked around at the faces of beings from across the galaxy, and he saw fear, greed, and determination. But he did not see mercy. We're declaring war on a dying species, Peter said quietly. You are willing to kill 3 billion people? Because you want to steal the poisoned worlds they need to survive? You're protecting the galaxy from a potential threat, Zektor replied. The decision has been made. Peter activated his communication device and sent a single message back to Earth. Diplomacy has failed. Prepare for war. As the aliens began to argue among themselves about how to divide up humanity's colonies, Peter realized that his species had no choice left. They would have to fight for the right to survive in a galaxy that saw them as monsters. even though they were really just desperate refugees looking for a place to call home. The first shots of the war were not fired in space. They were fired in the council chamber itself. Security Chief Danny Rodriguez had been waiting outside the diplomatic meeting, ready to escort Ambassador Peter Clark safely back to their ship. When he heard Peter's message about war, Danny knew they had seconds to act before the aliens tried to capture or kill the human delegation. Danny burst through the chamber doors just as Zektor was giving orders to arrest the humans. "Ambassador, we need to go now," Danny shouted, pulling out his weapon. The aliens had not expected humans to fight back immediately. They thought humans would try to negotiate more, or maybe run away. They were wrong. Danny had been a soldier for 20 years, and he knew that sometimes the only way to survive was to attack first. "Move, move, move," Danny yelled as he led Peter and Dr. Rachel Kim toward the emergency exit. Behind them, alien security forces were scrambling to respond, but they moved slowly because they had never faced a real emergency before. On Earth, Admiral Lisa Carter received Peter's message and immediately activated humanity's war plan. This was not a normal war plan. Humanity could not fight a traditional war against 47 alien worlds. They did not have enough ships or weapons. Instead, they would fight the kind of war that only humans could fight. "General Alex Stone, report to Command Center immediately," Lisa spoke into her communicator. When Alex arrived, she looked at him with grim determination. "Alex, it is time to show the galaxy. What happens when you threaten a species that has been fighting for survival for 300 years? Alex nodded. He was a big man with scars on his face from fighting in Earth's resource wars. He understood something that the aliens did not understand. Humans were not just good at surviving in dangerous places. They were good at making dangerous places work for them. "What are your orders, Admiral?" "We are not going to defend our colonies," Lisa said. "We are going to use them as weapons." Commander Nina Walsh received her orders while her fleet was orbiting Proxima Centauri b, one of humanity's most dangerous colonies. The planet was so radioactive that most aliens would die just from flying near it. But humans had built cities? They're powered by the radiation itself.
Captain Boyd, Captain Turner.
"Listen carefully," Nina said to her ship commanders over the communication system. "We are not retreating from the system. We are turning it into a trap." Captain Roy Baker, commanding the ship Defiance, looked at his crew. They were all volunteers who had grown up on Deathworlds. They knew how to think like survivors instead of soldiers. "What do you need us to do, Commander? The Council fleet?" "We'll be here in 6 hours," Nina replied. "They expect us to run away or surrender. Instead, we are going to show them why humans do not abandon Deathworlds. We are going to show them that what looks like hell to them is home to us." Nina's plan was simple but terrifying. Human ships would not fight the alien fleet in normal space combat. Instead, they would lead the aliens into the planet's radiation field and use the deadly environment as a weapon. When the Council fleet arrived, it was massive. 50 alien warships, each one larger and more powerful than any human vessel. The alien commander, General Corax of the Stellar Alliance, expected the humans to either surrender or die quickly. "Human vessels, you are surrounded," Corax broadcast. "Surrender now, and you will be relocated to safe areas under Council protection." Nina's response surprised him. "General Corax, you are welcome to try to take this system. But first, let me show you something." The human ship suddenly accelerated toward the planet instead of away from it. They dove into the radiation field that surrounded Proxima Centauri b, flying through zones of deadly energy that should have killed every person on board. But the humans did not die. Their ships had been built to operate in these conditions. Their crews had lived their entire lives in radiation that would kill most aliens in minutes. As they flew deeper into the dangerous zone, their ships actually got stronger, powered by the same radiation that was supposed to destroy them. "Impossible," Corax whispered as he watched his sensors. "No species can survive in that radiation." "Field, we can survive it because we live in it," Nina replied. "This is not a battlefield to us. This is our home." The alien ships tried to follow the humans into the radiation field, but their shields began failing immediately. The deadly energy that powered human technology was poisoning alien systems and killing alien crews. "Pull back," Korax ordered. "We cannot fight in those conditions." But Nina was not finished. Human ships emerged from the radiation field and began attacking the alien fleet from an unexpected direction. They used the planet's radiation as a shield, hiding in zones where alien sensors could not track them. The battle lasted 3 hours. When it was over, 15 alien ships were destroyed or damaged. The human fleet had lost only 2 vessels. More importantly, Nina had sent a message to the entire galaxy. Humans did not just survive in Deathworlds. They used Deathworlds as weapons. News of the victory spread quickly across human colonies. On Europa 7, Commander Jake Wilson prepared his ice mining fleet for combat. The aliens thought the frozen moon was a useless ball of ice. Jake knew it was a fortress surrounded by deadly storms and crushing cold. On Kepler 4 to B, Captain Susan Martinez watched alien ships approaching her volcanic world. The aliens saw a planet covered in lava and poison gas. Susan saw the perfect place to demonstrate human engineering. Her colony's geothermal power systems could be converted into weapons that would turn the planet's volcanoes into cannons. But the most important battle was happening on Earth itself. Dr. Kevin Turner was working desperately on humanity's secret weapon. It's not a military weapon, but a scientific breakthrough that could change everything. "Admiral Carter, I think I have found something," Kevin said, calling Lisa from his laboratory. "The aliens made a mistake when they threatened us. They forced us to work together with our colonies in a way we never have before." "What do you mean?" Lisa asked. "Each colony has developed technology to survive in their specific Deathworld," Kevin explained. "Ice technology from Europa 7, radiation technology from Proxima Centauri B, volcanic technology from Kepler 4 to B. If we combine all of these technologies, we might be able to do something incredible." "Like what?" Kevin smiled for the first time. "In months? Like save Earth itself. And if we can save Earth, we will not need to be refugees anymore. We can become something the galaxy has never seen before. We can become the species that helps other worlds survive, instead of just surviving ourselves." Lisa felt a spark of hope. "How long do you need?" "Give me 6 months and keep the aliens busy," Kevin said. "I think I can give humanity something worth fighting for." As reports came in from battles across the galaxy, Lisa realized that the war was changing both humanity and their enemies. The aliens were learning that humans were much more dangerous than they had thought, and humans were learning that their greatest strength was not their ability to survive alone, but their ability to work together when survival was at stake. The galaxy was about to discover what happened when a dying species decided to fight for life instead of accepting death. The alien ship landed on Earth with a sound like thunder, crushing trees that had been dying from acid rain for decades. Dr. Helen Brooks stepped out of the vessel wearing a protective suit that covered her entire body. She was a scientist from the Council, sent to study humanity's homeworld and learn their weaknesses. But as she looked around at the landscape, Helen realized she was not looking at a military stronghold. She was looking at a graveyard. The sky above her was orange and brown, filled with clouds that looked more like smoke than water vapor. The air was so thick with chemicals that her suit's filters worked constantly just to give her clean oxygen. In the distance, she could see the massive towers of a human city. But even from miles away, she could tell something was wrong. Agent Sam Carter met her at the landing site. He was a human intelligence officer who had volunteered to guide alien visitors around Earth. Sam wore only a simple breathing mask. It's not a full protective suit like Helen needed. "Welcome to Earth," Sam said, his voice slightly muffled by the mask. "I hope your suit is working properly. The air today is not too bad, but it can still be dangerous for visitors." Helen looked at her suit's readings. The air contained levels of poison that would kill most aliens in minutes. "How do you survive breathing this?" Sam shrugged. "We have been breathing it our whole lives. Our lungs have adapted. Come on, let me show you around." As they walked toward the city, Helen saw things that made her understand why humans had seemed so strange to the rest of the galaxy. Children played in parks, but the parks were covered by glass domes to protect them from the toxic air. Farmers grew food in fields, but the fields were surrounded by machines that cleaned the soil and filtered the water. This used to be a forest, Sam explained as they passed an area of dead trees. My grandfather told me stories about when the trees were green and the air was clean, but that was before the Great Poisoning. The Great Poisoning? That is what we call the time when our planet started dying, Sam said. It happened slowly at first. Factories released chemicals into the air. Cars burned fuel that made the sky dirty. People cut down forests and polluted rivers. By the time we realized what was happening, it was too late to stop it, Ellen recorded. Everything she saw with her suit's cameras, the council leaders needed to understand what they were really fighting against. But as the day went on, Helen began to realize that the humans were not the enemy. They were victims. In the city of New Angeles, Sam showed Helen how humans lived. Entire neighborhoods existed underground, protected from the surface radiation by thick concrete and steel. The underground areas had parks and schools and shopping centers, all lit by artificial suns because natural sunlight was too dangerous. This is where most of our children live, Sam explained as they walked through an underground school. They only come to the surface when they are older and their bodies can handle the radiation. Helen watched human children playing games in the artificial light. They looked happy, but she could see the effects of their poisoned world in their faces. They were pale and thin, and many of them coughed frequently. A little girl named Lucy Martinez ran up to them, excited to see an alien visitor. "Are you really from another planet?" she asked Helen. "Is it true that your world has clean air and blue skies?" Helen knelt down to talk to the child. Through her suit's translator, she said, "Yes, little one. On my world, the air is clean and the sky is blue." Lucy's eyes grew wide with wonder. What does clean air smell like? The question broke Helen's heart. This child had never breathed clean air in her entire life. She had never seen a blue sky or a real sunset. She had never played in a natural forest or swum in a clean river. "It smells like flowers and rain," Helen said softly. "Someday maybe you will visit my world and smell it for yourself." But even as she said it, Helen knew it was not true. The council was planning to destroy humanity, not help them. Later that day, Sam took Helen to see the most shocking sight of all. In the center of the city stood a massive building called the Memorial of the Lost. Inside, the walls were covered with the names of every species that had lived on Earth before the Great Poisoning. "We used to share this planet with millions of other life forms," Sam explained. "Birds, fish, insects, plants, animals of every kind. But as our world became more poisoned, they began to die. Some species we managed to save in special protected areas, but most of them are gone forever." Helen read some of the names on the walls, species she had never heard of, creatures that had lived and died on this world before humans ever reached the stars. She realized that humans were not conquerors who destroyed worlds. They were survivors who had already watched their own world die. "Why do you not give up?" Helen asked. "Why do you keep fighting when your world is so damaged?" Sam was quiet for a long time. Then he pointed to a group of young people working on a project in the corner of the memorial. They were building something that looked like a small tree, but it was made of metal and plastic. "Those students are working on artificial trees that can clean poison from the air," Sam said. "They know they will probably never see Earth restored in their lifetimes, but they work anyway. They work because they believe their children or their children's children might have a chance. But surely it would be easier to just leave Earth behind and move to the colonies." "Some people do," Sam admitted. "But many of us stay because this is our home. This is where our families lived and died for thousands of years. We cannot just abandon it." That evening, Helen sent a secret message to her home world. She did not send it to the council leaders who had ordered her to find human weaknesses. Instead, she sent it to her own people, the Zephyrian Collective. "I've discovered something terrible," she wrote. "The humans are not our enemies. They are refugees from a dying world trying desperately to save their species and their home. But there is something else, something the Council does not know. Len had discovered that the Zephyrians had their own secret. Their crystal homeworld was slowly dissolving due to changes in their star's radiation. They had hidden this fact from the Council for 50 years, pretending everything was normal, while secretly searching for a solution. The humans have technology that could save us, Helen continued in her message. They have learned how to survive environmental collapse. They have learned how to restore damaged ecosystems. If we help them instead of fighting them, they might be able to help us save our own world. But Helen's message was intercepted by Council intelligence. Within hours, Zektor knew that one of his own scientists was sympathizing with the enemy.
Actor.
Brooks has been compromised by human propaganda, Zektor announced to the Council. This proves that humans are even more dangerous than we thought. They can turn our own people against us. The decision was made that night. The Council would launch a full military assault on all human colonies simultaneously. They would end the war quickly and decisively, before more Council species began to doubt their cause. What the Council did not know was that Dr. Kevin Turner had been listening to their communications. His secret project was almost complete, and he had learned something that would change everything. The Council species were not the only ones with dying homeworlds. According to intercepted transmissions, at least 12 different alien species were facing environmental disasters they had hidden from the galaxy. They had joined the war against humanity, not out of fear or greed, but out of desperate hope that they could steal human survival technology for themselves. The galaxy was full of dying worlds and desperate species, all pretending to be strong, while secretly searching for salvation, and Earth, the most damaged world of all, might hold the key to saving them all. Dr. Kevin Turner stood before the largest gathering in galactic history. Representatives from 63 different worlds had come to hear what the human scientist had to say. Some came as enemies preparing for war. Others came as secret allies, hoping for salvation. All of them came because they knew their worlds were dying. The meeting was held in neutral space, on a station built by the peaceful Etherian Collective. President Maria Santos of Earth sat at Kevin's side, while Admiral Lisa Carter stood ready to protect them if the talks went wrong. Across the room, Zektor and his military allies waited with weapons ready. But the most important person in the room was Dr. Helen Brooks, who had risked everything to reveal the truth about the Council's hidden secrets. Honored representatives, Kevin began 6 months ago. You declared war on humanity because you thought we were conquerors. Today, I want to show you something that will change how you see not just humans, but your own species as well. Kevin activated a holographic display that filled the center of the room. The first image showed the Zephorian homeworld, but not as the Council had ever seen it before. This image showed the truth that Helen had helped to uncover. The crystal formations that make up your world are dissolving, Kevin said to the Zephyrian delegation. Your star's radiation has changed, and your planet has maybe 30 years before it becomes uninhabitable. The Zephyrian representatives looked shocked that their secret had been discovered, but Kevin was not finished. The nebulan gas clouds are losing density due to gravitational interference from a nearby black hole. The hive cluster colony worlds are being destroyed by a fungal infection that your scientists cannot stop. The Titanium Brotherhood's metal world is rusting from cosmic radiation exposure. As Kevin listed the hidden disasters, representatives from each species grew more uncomfortable. They had all joined the war against humanity while hiding their own environmental crises. 12 different species in this room are facing extinction, Kevin continued. You have all been pretending to be strong while secretly searching for ways to save your dying worlds. And you all made the same mistake. You thought the only way to survive was to steal from someone else? Zektor stood up angrily. Even if this is true, it does not change the fact that humans are dangerous. Your species has abilities that could threaten the entire galaxy. You are right, Kevin said, surprising everyone in the room. We are dangerous, but not in the way you think. Kevin changed the holographic display to show Earth. But this was not the dying world that Dr. Brooks had visited 6 months ago. This was Earth as it could be, restored and green and beautiful. We are dangerous because we refuse to give up, Kevin explained. We are dangerous because we have learned something that no other species in the galaxy has learned. we have learned that extinction is not inevitable. President Santos stood up to address the assembly. She was a small woman with gray hair and kind eyes, but her voice carried the strength of someone who had led a dying world for 10 years. 6 months ago, you tried to destroy us because you were afraid of our technology, Maria said. But what you did not understand is that our greatest technology is not our weapons or our ships. Our greatest technology is hope. She gestured to Kevin, who began explaining his project. For the past year, I have been working with scientists from every human colony. We have combined ice processing technology from Europa 7, radiation control, systems from Proxima Centauri b, volcanic energy systems from Kepler 44 to b, and atmospheric processors from a dozen different Deathworlds. The display showed a massive machine unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. It was part factory, part laboratory, and part miracle. We call it the World Healer, Kevin said. It can take a dying planet and restore its atmosphere, clean its water, and rebuild its ecosystem. But it requires resources that can only be found in the cores of dying stars, and technology that can only be built by multiple species working together. Representative Yila of the Etherian Collective was the first to speak. Are you saying that you have found a way to save dying worlds? Not just dying worlds, Kevin replied. We have found a way to save all of our worlds. But only if we work together. The room erupted in excited conversations as species began to realize what Kevin was offering. This was not conquest or surrender. This was partnership. But Zektor was not convinced. Why should we trust you? How do we know this is not some human trick to make us lower our defenses? Admiral Carter stepped forward, because we are going to test it on Earth first. If it works, our planet will be restored. If it fails, we will die trying. Either way, you will know whether we are telling the truth. Dr. Brooks stood up from the Zephyrian delegation. The Zephyrian Collective wants to help with this project. We offer our crystal technology and our knowledge of stellar engineering. One by one, other species began to volunteer. The Nebulans offered their gravitational manipulation systems. The hive clusters provided their biological adaptation expertise. Even some of Zektor's own allies began to break ranks and offer assistance. Is madness, Zektor protested. You are all being fooled by human desperation. But Kevin had one more surprise. General Zektor, your own homeworld is dying too. The Apex Federation's military bases are built on asteroids that are slowly breaking, apart due to structural instability. You have maybe 20 years before your entire civilization collapses. Zektor's face showed shock and then anger, but Kevin continued. We know about your secret evacuation plans. We know about your search for new worlds to colonize. We know, because we understand desperation. We have been desperate for 300 years. The difference, President Santos added, is that we learned to turn desperation into determination. We learned to turn fear into hope. And we learned that survival is easier when you help others survive too. The vote was not even close. 58 species agreed to join the Survival Alliance. Only 5 species, led by Zektor, refused to participate. A year later, the first test of the World Healer began in orbit around Earth. Ships from dozens of species worked together to position the massive machine near Earth's moon. The device was the size of a small city, built from technology that no single species could have created alone. Captain Jake Morrison, now commanding the Alliance flagship New Dawn, watched as the machine began its work. Streams of energy reached out from the device toward Earth, targeting the worst areas of pollution and environmental damage. The results were better than anyone had hoped. Within hours, the orange sky above New Angeles began to turn blue. The acid rain stopped falling over the farming regions. The dead forests began to show signs of new growth. Lucy Martinez, now 9 years old, stood with her family on the surface of Earth for the first time in her life. She was not wearing a breathing mask. She was breathing clean air and looking up at a blue sky filled with white clouds. What does it smell like? Her little brother asked, remembering the question she had asked Dr. Brooks a year ago. Lucy took a deep breath and smiled.
What?
It smells like hope. The World Healer continued its work for 6 months, slowly restoring Earth's atmosphere, cleaning its oceans, and rebuilding its damaged ecosystems. But more importantly, it proved that species working together could accomplish what none of them could achieve alone, as other Alliance worlds began requesting their own world healers. Humanity found their new purpose in the galaxy. They were no longer refugees fleeing from world to world. They were teachers, showing other species how to survive when survival seemed impossible. The galaxy was still a dangerous place, filled with dying stars and hostile environments. But now it was also filled with hope, and with the knowledge that extinction was not inevitable for species brave enough to work together. Earth remained a challenging world, but now it was a challenging world with a future, and humanity had finally found their true place among the stars, not as conquerors of Deathworlds, but as healers of dying worlds and builders of hope in the darkness of space.